in film study. And each and every week, we'll be bringing you in-depth film breakdowns from across the pond and the Sooner State. Welcome to On the Shane page. I am your host, Shane Haff. Give me a follow on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. I'm joined, as always, by BGN's own film guru, Jonny Page. Give him a follow on Twitter at JohnnyPage9. Jonny, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. I've decided this is my favorite game ever. I did the post game and I was done by 9:30 UK time. We started at like 8:45 UK time. I had Red Zone on my phone still. There were so many games still going on. It was a great week of the NFL. And then I turned on a defensive film this week and it was like, oh, nothing to watch. The last few weeks has been hell. There's been like a million plays. So, yeah, it was good. It was nice to see the Eagles actually win a game. Wasn't really a competitive game. And I feel like, should we just say right now, rather than having to continue to repeat ourselves throughout the show, that the Raiders suck. So if you want to ignore anything we say, I think Pete Carroll will get fired. I think they'll blow up that whole operation. I will say in the preview, like, I saw some decent bits with their defense. I thought offensively they were terrible. But they have scored some points in November. Like they scored 17 versus the Broncos, which is a good defense. 14 on the Chargers. 29 on the Jags. So it's not like they're always terrible. But I think, yeah, let's just put a giant asterisk for everything we're talking about today. If anyone wants to just... We haven't got a comment every time. I'm not going to say, but it's the Raiders, but it's the Raiders, but it's the Raiders. So we'll get that out there now. And then, yeah, people can do what they want with the rest of it.
Yeah, that's fair. You can only play who's put in front of you, but what was put in front of them was pretty poor. You remember last postseason when we were watching the Chiefs offense getting ready for the Super Bowl, and I ended up just getting really angry about the Bills defense? I sort of had that experience watching this game. I was like watching the Eagles offense, but also the Raiders defense, and like, man, how has Pete Carroll still got a job? Because that's pathetic for a guy that's supposed to be a defensive head coach. So
games passed him by.
Yeah, so we won't continue to give that disclaimer. You do with this what you will. You can only beat who's put in front of you. I will just say the Raiders defense is the best defense that the Eagles will face the rest of the regular season, because they are 19th in DVOA defensively, and the Commanders are 27th, and the Bills are 22nd. So there is a bit of an...
That's not a good argument for DVOA. I feel like the Bills can't be that bad under McDermott.
Their defense is bad, Jonny. It's real bad. So, you know, there's also an element of we're going to be asking these questions and trying to parse through, you know, the Eagles offense and if they've sorted things out over the next 3 weeks. And we're also going to be doing it against bad defenses. So hopefully they just continue to stack concepts that look good, stack weeks that look good, and we'll figure the rest of it out. And I think this is something where film guys like Jonny and I are a little better equipped to do this, because we're always process over results. And the Eagles did smash the Raiders, but it wasn't just doing the same things. This felt like a pretty radically different offense to me.
I mean, yeah, I was positive last week, and Hurts had... I was listening to, like, I won't shout out the podcast, because it's generally a podcast I like, but there was just like, they were talking about the previewing the Eagles game, and the host just casually said, like, and Jalen Hurts had the worst game of his career last week, and I was thinking... Like, I listen to this podcast for other reasons, not really film stuff. But, you know, people just casually, like, throw out things. I'm like, okay. I guess that was the national reaction, because when you throw picks, it's the worst game of someone's career. But it's like, did you watch Hurts' first 18 months in the league? It definitely was not. But, yeah, I feel like, yeah, we'll get into the offense. But some of the stuff we saw last week, continued to come to fruition. And that's really positive.
Yeah. So we are going to continue sort of our new format for the show. And was it last week that your internet was really bad, Jonny? I think it was.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay, so hopefully it continues to improve, because we don't have internet issues. But rather than us having, you know, canned points on each side, we're just going to sort of have a discussion. And it is a film show, so we'll throw film clips up on the screen as well, when applicable, when we have them handy. But for the most part, we're just going to kind of talk through some of this stuff. And Jonny, do you want to start? I'm assuming offense first, because that's the big takeaway in this game. Do you want to go run game, pass game? Where do you want to start?
I feel like for the first week in a while, it was a little bit like married this week for the first time in a while. I've gone on a journey this week, Shane, and I've been on a journey on Discord. I read like the longest piece of writing I think I've ever read in my life about under center versus shotgun. It was actually Ollie Connolly, who we've had on the podcast, who I will get on the podcast in the off season again if he will join us, because I think he is the best NFL writer there is. And he broke down on his podcast a few weeks ago the top 10 NFL offenses, basically. And they just went through them like sort of like schematically, a little bit of a run through. And they basically were just looking at everyone. And I was talking about this on Twitter, on the Discord, and it was just like, oh yeah, Cowboys, yeah, under center heavy. The Rams, under center heavy. Bills, under center heavy. Lions, under center heavy. Bears, under center heavy. Patriots, under center heavy. And basically the one team that was bucking the trend was the Colts, which I think is fascinating because obviously Steichen, there is history there. So I did a little bit of digging and I'm trying to, I guess my brain is in off-season mode in a weird way because I'm almost coming at this season a different way than before. And it just seems to me like Dan Orlovsky's been banging this drum that the way the league is at the moment with lighter bodies, there's a lot of mugged fronts, there's a lot of 5 and 6 man fronts, and most teams run more from under center and pass more from shotgun, and that feels like just a bland statement to make, but it's partially true. And I think the best offenses in the league are going under center more. And the Eagles seem like they have philosophically shifted to that now. And I think that's probably where we should start. It feels like for the first time they have an identity, the Eagles offense, and it started last week and they carried it on this week. And the identity was on early downs, they are going under center. Maybe a bit too much run game under center. I would love to see some non-play action under center throws, just standard dropbacks from under center. Because I think the way the league is going at the moment, unless you are going to run the hell out of your QB, then you can live in the shotgun. But this game plan on offense was quite simple to me. It was basically early downs, under center run game, second and third down, RPO, shotgun world. And it wasn't obviously every play, but you could pretty much, if you go through the film, that's how they lived. They lived in that world. And again, Raiders. But the way they wanted to win. And I was a bit disappointed that Sirianni downplayed it in his press conference. He was like, oh, well, it was the way the team they were up against. And I was like, I don't think that's true. They've played bad teams before. They haven't led the most snaps they've ever had under Hurts from under center in his entire career. To me, and maybe Sirianni just didn't want to give anything away. But I think to me, the Eagles offense clearly had a plan this week. I think it was 45% of snaps were under center. If you had told me 2 years ago, Jalen Hurts was going to go 45% of snaps under center, you'd be, I wouldn't believe you. Hurts was all 4 passes completed. Tanner McKee was 2 out of 2. The play action under center game was good. So it feels like that is the identity. And the question is, where do they go from there now? Is this something they are going to stick to? Or, because we were there a few weeks ago when Brett Tooth played, and we were like, this is the identity against, was it the Giants or whatever? And then they just stopped doing it again. So are the Eagles finally going to commit to this way of playing? Do you think this was a precursor for what is to come over the next few weeks?
I really hope so. I mean, this is something that I was kind of talking about in the Discord in the lead up to this game, is that in the offseason, I would go and hire the best run game designer that you can find for your offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And I would be a 50% under center team next year, because it opens up things in the run game. And yes, it's not what Hurts is used to in the passing game, but there's innate benefits for the passing game from being under center. And so you let those two things kind of offset as he gets more comfortable. And like you talked about, you watch all of these good creative offenses, and a lot of them are operating primarily under center. And I don't think you're going to throw away shotgun, because you do have a quarterback that's comfortable in it and can be used as a runner. But you're probably not going to see like that schematic shift in the middle of a season. That's going to be an off-season thing. And then they come out and they were close to 50% under center against the Raiders. And I don't think it will stay that like stark. But I do like to see them get into that, and I liked the fact that their under center play action game wasn't just Yankee anymore, which has pretty much been their only under center play action concept this year. And then it becomes a bit predictable too. And I do want to talk about some of the concepts they ran play action under center when we get to the film stuff, but I don't think you're going to see 45-50% under center the rest of this season and into the playoffs. But I do think you're going to see it a little bit more, and I hope it's something they're really building to next season.
Yeah, I put these numbers, by the way, in the Discord. So if you're not on Patreon, the Discord, we have a lot of hopefully very intelligent chat. And yeah, I read this blog by Sports Passion Project, Robbie Marish, shout out Robbie, in July. And I'm not kidding when I say it's the longest thing I've ever read. Like, I don't want to know how many words it is. And I pretty much read it all. And I won't bore everyone, but it's basically a whole study on under center versus shotgun. And long story short, funny enough, he actually mentions Hurts in the article and actually does say that he is one of the quarterbacks that he doesn't think could go under center that much, which is interesting, partly because he was already very accurate. In his argument, he argued there are only 8 QBs in the league who maybe wouldn't benefit from under center more, and they were basically like Lamar, Burrow, Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Russell Wilson, so like sort of like more mobile guys that have already been quite accurate out the shotgun. But the findings were pretty stark, and this was before this year. And for what it's worth, he is a fan of running from shotgun more than under center, and I think I'm still on that bandwagon a little bit. But what under center does is it helps you as a pass game more. So these are just straight up numbers. So these are from the past, like, I think he did like the past like 5 years, this study. But he put things like, you increase your completion percentage over expectation by 2.5%, which is massive. And he was basically arguing that some of the most inaccurate quarterbacks coming out could have been helped by going under center. And I'll talk about why, but a lot of it's to do with timing of drop, because a lot of NFL teams are running deeper drops these days. And sometimes in the shotgun, you get there too early. And I'm not just talking under center play action here either. But the ones that really, really I thought was interesting was average time for a QB hurry. 2.46 seconds to 2.69 seconds. I know that's only a fifth of a second extra, but that's a pretty consistent, like a pretty big difference. QB hit 2.34 seconds to 2.59 seconds. QB sack 2.71 to 2.87. Basically, NFL teams still expect you to run when you go under center, and the pass rush is worse. And that's a really interesting thing to think about, like against some of the offenses around the league. But most teams would argue if you can rush the quarterback, you've got a good chance of playing defense. If a QB has time, most QBs in the NFL will win. They're too good. Offensive coordinators will find something. So if you can basically go under center, and this is before this year, so these numbers may have shifted even more, you can guarantee you're going to have basically more time to throw. Your sacks are going to take longer. The hits are going to take longer. That's something good offenses should be looking at. And I think quite clearly the best offenses in the league are looking about this. And people wanted me to get into why. I have to do more research to find out why. But I think some of it, as I mentioned there, is that NFL teams are now playing a lot of mugged fronts. The best defenses in the league, what are they doing? And they've done it to the Eagles a lot this year as well. What do? 6 men on the line of scrimmage, drop 2 linebackers out. Well, when you do that, where is the best space to hit? It's behind them, because it's really hard to drop from where you are as a linebacker if you think a run could be coming. So that's where play action under center is killing that modern NFL with lighter linebackers, more like 5-6 man fronts. We see it all across the league. And basically, I think the Eagles are now tapping into it, which is really, really good, because it seems like that is a more modern trend. I will just add, though, I think maybe we'll show some videos in a second of some of the passing game stuff before we talk run game. But I think the Eagles have to improve their under center run game, because otherwise the benefits I'm talking about, in my opinion, won't happen, because teams will basically know what's coming. So the Eagles run game was still inefficient this week. I think everyone got a bit mad because Cam Latu had like 2 average blocks, and everyone's like, we're fixed. And it's like, Saquon Barkley, I know they committed to the run, but he still averaged 3.5 yards a carry. Tank Bigsby averaged 3.4 yards a carry. Like, I don't think the run game was brilliant. And my worry is that what we're talking about won't work if they can't fix that. But do you want to show some of the passing concepts that we like then? Should we talk about a few of them and why?
Yeah.
Why they are more efficient than they have been?
And I'll also say on the run stuff, there's just still a lot of predictability in the run game that needs to be fixed. I mean, the Eagles came out, and I'll show this one, but they did this multiple times. Actually, 4 times on the opening drive, the Eagles came out and open in 13 personnel, and all 4 times they motioned Cameron Latu pre-snap, and then they ran the ball behind him and another puller, and it never worked. It gained 2 total yards on 4 plays. So, and that's not like, I tweeted that out, and people were like, "Oh, he's a bad blocker." I was like, "Well, no, that's not necessarily it. It's just more like they came into the game with this idea of we're going to do 13 personnel, and they ran the exact same run out of the exact same personnel 4 times on the first drive. And so there's still a lot of like predictability in what they're doing in the run game that I think can make it better. But yeah, let's get into a little bit of the play action. I guess the main thing that they do with play action, the main thing that they've done for all season really, is they'll go under center and they run a concept called Yankee. And so Yankee, for those of you that don't know, and my pen never does this except on this show, and I always have to restart it. It's so bizarre.
People will know what Yankee are if they've watched any Eagles under center play action throws in the past 15 weeks.
Yeah,
they run it every single time.
Yeah, all it is you run the under center play action, you get a post route from one side, and you get a dig route from the other side. And what you're trying to do is pull the linebackers up to the line of scrimmage with the play action, drive the safety off with the post so you can throw the dig over the middle of the field. And so the Eagles have done that a ton this season. In this game, they did some different stuff. They did a slide concept, which I really like. So they just have like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith run vertically, and they're going to run the play fake to the right, and then you get a crossing route, and you get this slide route to Goddard. And so you can throw the crosser, you can throw the slide route. We're driving off coverage with the vertical routes. You get your quarterback on the move. And I mean, Hurts could throw either one of these routes, right? Goddard's wide open. Your crossing route is wide open. I just take Goddard because it's an easy throw and he's right there. And this is just something we haven't really seen the Eagles
Shane,
do often.
Look at the flooding there as well. If you go back and pause the routes, what have we spoke about all year? 2x2, not flooding one side. Look at this. That, to me, is what the Eagles want to live in this world the majority of the time. And they're stretching them horizontally, vertically. Look at the amount of space the Raiders got to carry there. They're not leaving men in to protect pointlessly. They are really spreading you out, and it's just been better the last 2 weeks. The concepts have got better. We can joke about, is there a consultant in there? Is someone been hired? It'll be interesting because, as Yakko just commented, yeah, the hitches and curls weren't there as much this week. It does feel like someone or a new set of eyes has looked at this offense.
Yeah, and also just you've got Hurts on the move. So say none of this is open. 51 does a pretty good job of staying home here, which is another thing, is this opens up your run game, because if we look at it from the back, they're going to leave this defensive end unblocked. And you just assume he's going to bite on it enough that you can bootleg around him, right? But he's in that no man's land. He can't go chase Tank Bigsby, right? He's standing up, and so in essence, that allows you to also not block the guy in the run game when you're going to go under center and run, because he's got to be concerned about that bootleg. And so things like this will also, being willing to bootleg your quarterback will open things up in the run game as well. But they also ran a leak concept that I liked. And
this is really cool.
Yeah, so on this one, they're going to run. Again, A.J. Brown's just going to run a vertical route. He's running it off here, but they're going to pull Landon Dickerson, and it's a play fake to the right. And then they're going to have a crossing route, and then Dallas Goedert is going to block the edge just long enough for Dickerson to get there, and then he releases and leaks across the field. And sometimes that leak route will have like a wheel element to it. This one doesn't, but so this almost looks like you're going to bootleg right, and then you just throw it back into the flat. And Dallas Goedert's wide open. And so a lot of cool things you can do here. And this isn't something we've seen them do. And so they execute it pretty well. I mean, you can watch Goddard's block. He's going to engage the edge rusher, and then he just holds him long enough for Dickerson to get there, and then he lets him go. And so there's stuff like that. We saw him run a flood concept from under center play action. and you just get Goddard wide open
Yeah, this
on the
is the
sideline.
same concept as the earlier one, or very similar. I actually don't think, and there's something that I'd like to note here as well, is I think Hurts can get better at selling play action. Some quarterbacks aren't big fans of it because I think they're worried about what's coming next. If you look at the linebackers here, Shane, considering this is 1st and 10, I don't think they fully bite this. I think Hurts maybe has a little bit of a tell. It's like some of them, I think, especially 52 has this idea. And I know I spoke a lot about the benefits as well, but one of the benefits from under center play action as well, and this is a weird thing to say, but when you read what, and I've read a lot about it this week, it's been like at the tip of my, because I'll be honest, Shane, to me, under center's like old school and it didn't really mean a lot. And then this year I've had to change how I think about offense because I've always been a shotgun spread, 11 personnel, empty. That's the way I see offense because I've watched the NFL for the last 5 years. And one of the things that I was reading was about, it was a thing from a linebacker, he said about playing the Rams. And he said one of the things he struggles with is he can't see play action as easily. Sounds really simple, but because the running back is behind, and they're not standing next to them, it's harder to actually spot play action as well. So like it makes it harder for linebackers and safeties to actually bite it, to like actually know, what it is. And obviously other things I wanted to mention was in the too high world that we live in as well. The benefit of under center is, again, just that threat of the run for a split second. You can hopefully get those safeties to come downhill. I haven't looked up the numbers, so I might be wrong, and people can tell me in the chat. But it feels like the more RPO heavy offense led. Bengals used to run a lot of shotgun. Dolphins obviously have just benched Tua. I don't know what the Washington have run this year with Jaden Daniels, but it feels like those offenses are poor. They are not as good as they were a couple of years ago. So it just feels like the Eagles are adjusting. They're doing something that, in my opinion, is where the modern NFL at the moment is going. As we said, lighter linebackers, stopping the A-gap blitzes. As I said, the next step for me is to not just run play action from under center. Can we actually run some like normal concepts? Can we very briefly as well talk about the Eagles' use of personnel in this game, which I thought was good. So have you got the A.J. Brown touchdown?
Yes, I do.
Because one thing I think the Eagles did better this week as well was I noted in the preview that the Raiders are a team that live in base personnel a lot. So when you play a team like that, you can manipulate what the defense does. And I think this is really clever. So when a lot of people saw this, including myself, I assumed 3rd and 5, 11 personnel, 12 personnel. Is that Dotson? And it's not. And I didn't realize until a while ago, it's a running back out wide. So they did this twice that I like. This is one occasion. They're playing 22 personnel, yet A.J. Brown's out there. For a start, I think a lot of the time, A.J. Brown's not the sole receiver. It's been Devontae Smith. A.J. Brown's in the slot, and by playing 22 personnel, you're guaranteed to get zone because there's no way they're covering a cornerback on Shipley and a safety on A.J. Brown in man coverage unless they are morons. So you can sort of predict a little bit about what you're going to get some of the time. And also, as I said, it gets A.J. Brown on a safety. So this is not just a good route concept, a good throw, a good play. It's like good overall design. And this wasn't the only time they did this, which I thought was really cool. And you can see here, perfect throw.
Also,
really nice throw.
I said we wouldn't do this all show, but what a stupid defense by the Raiders.
Yeah.
How are you keeping a single high safety on the field and putting him over 2 tight ends and a running back instead of A.J. Brown?
Yeah. Well, although I agree with you, you say that, but they're just playing the numbers game, aren't they? They obviously, and again, this could be, I don't know, I'm not going to give Patullo this much credit, but maybe they've seen something on film. They see that they always shade the safety over to the strong side of the formation. Maybe that's something they've seen. The other one, by the way, I don't know if you've got it, was the quick slant to Dallas Goedert. Not Dallas Goedert, to A.J. Brown, when he used a little like switch at the line of scrimmage, which we haven't seen very often. So really simple, but you can basically tell it's zone because the second A.J. Brown switches outside, no one goes with him. Even pre-snap, you can sort of tell. You can tell by that look it's zone coverage. And basically, I think Hurts is just reading the deep safety. The Raiders try to actually do some sort of disguise for once and go from like more single high to 2 high. And Hurts just kills 2 high like this. And yeah, I wanted to raise really quickly, Seth commenting, Nick Sirianni made that comment. Have you seen that clip, Shane, from Hard Knocks? The Hard Knocks, which no one in the world appears to be watching, by the way.
I haven't. I'm not watching it, but I saw the clip.
No one has the time to watch in-season Hard Knocks today. Just it's the worst timing, anything.
Yeah.
But that was really interesting. So I don't know, Seth, if you thought the same as me, but I heard that and I thought Sirianni's been involved. That felt to me like Hertz has gone to Nick and said we need to run some more stuff. And Sirianni's almost like, dare I say sarcastically, but almost being like, we like that one, don't you? As if to be like, we can do it. It was a really weird interaction. But I don't think it was a fluke that they were both like really, really interested. Like they were both really excited by that play. I reckon maybe there's something there that, not conflict, but a bit of tension maybe, not in a bad way.
Yeah. Also, this is just a nice play because you get the double slants. So they've got 6 guys across the line of scrimmage. Presumably, they're bailing one of these guys out over the middle. If they don't, you're hot. They're man free. But nobody, like if all 6 of these guys rush, there is no possible way Goddard can be covered on a slant route. Like that safety can't close down. So I like that they run this little double slant. It's basically, if we're hot, it's to Goddard. And if somebody bails off, they've got to take Goddard. And that means you get A.J. Brown on a slant, one-on-one, outside leverage. So just really cool way to beat it. And I mean, you'll get teams that could try to play a guessing game and still jump that A.J. Brown route. But I thought that was a really good way just to get the ball into the middle of the field to attack those mugged up looks the Eagles have been seeing a lot. So I really liked that one too.
Yeah, do you want to... Is there any other passing things you want us to get into? And we're not going to do everything. You do the Patreon pass game review. Hertz played really well. I thought he saw the field really well. Scheme helped him for once. Didn't have to be Superman. Anything else you want to hit on pass game, or do you want to talk a little bit about run game?
It was nice to see the deep ball back.
Yes.
I pointed out on Twitter just how much the deep ball has been struggling since the bye week. And somebody was like, it was one bad game. And I was like, no, Hertz was 5 of 21 on passes of 20 plus air yards after the bye going into this game. And in this game, he hit on 2 of them, 2 of 2, and he throws the touchdown. So you got the A.J. Brown one, you get the Devontae Smith double move, which was just a beautiful throw. So it was nice to see the deep ball back because the Eagles are a team that needs to throw those deep balls too. You've got the receivers to win them downfield for whatever reason. Devontae Smith is just ridiculously good downfield. And so you want to be throwing him some of those, and it just creates another complicating element for defenses of we can under center play action, we can target the middle of the field, we can target the flats, we can push the ball downfield. Now the component that you need to come back is the running game. And so, yeah, we can dive in and talk about that. The run game still stunk in the first half.
I don't get it. I don't get the run game still. It's not even just the QB run game stuff anymore. I mean, QB draw is obviously awesome. People are going to talk about the Jalen Hurts hit. I get it. People don't want him to get injured. That wasn't because they ran him. He could take a hit. He could slide early. That you can't be scared of everything. He can get hit in the pocket. He can get hit throwing a ball. That's on him. The QB run game was good. The 2 QB draws were really good. One of them was like a counter action, which was really cool. I just don't like the way they block. And it's not just individually. I don't know how to explain this properly because I really want to get an O-line coach to break it down. But for me, they don't block like either a backside linebacker or the 6th man in the box very often. And they seem to leave men alone all the time in the run game. And there's just so many like individual plays that I'm like, I don't really get what they're doing here when it comes to the run game. I think I've actually got one example I wanted to show, but I don't know if I actually tweeted. This was it. Look at play 12, for example, Shane, on my film front, if you don't mind. And this is a good run. So I'm pointing out a positive. But just have a look at Fred Johnson, or is it Goddard or Fred Johnson? I can't remember what one I said. I think it might be Fred Johnson and Goddard. Like, to me, they're double teaming here, but they completely leave 52 alone. And I don't know if this is their plan. The design is we'll leave Barkley one-on-one because we think Barkley's that good that we want to double one player to completely seal an edge. But if you look at where Goddard is, and I watched this play a few times because I was like, am I being too critical? It was a good run. Surely he should look at 52. To me, it looks like he's not even near to getting off him. And I find that really unusual. And this happens a lot. So I don't know. It's a good run. Credit to AJ Brown as well, blocking downfield, which is nice. Um, there's too many plays in their run game that I have issues with how they block. And I don't mean issues as in I'm a coach, I know what they're doing wrong, as in just I'm someone who watches film and is looking going, that doesn't look right. But I don't know exactly how to explain it, which isn't great podcasting.
Yeah, the run game is still lacking. It did get better, in the second half, and maybe that's you're wearing down a defense. Maybe that's you're pitching a shutout, and an opposing defense just kind of starts to crack. But they went under center a lot more, which I thought was good. But they still didn't particularly run well under center early in the game. And I'm with you. It just doesn't make sense to me how they target some of the blocks. I mean, and we can continue to talk about the same things we have with Grant Calcaterra just cannot run block, and they keep putting him out there.
Yeah, that's just a waste of time talking about it, isn't it? I just
Tyler
don't get it.
Steen doesn't get a lot of movement in the run game.
I will say, I think this was his best week. I will disagree with you on this week alone. I watched the run game quite closely. I think he was good this week, I must admit.
Yeah.
Fred Johnson cannot run block.
Yes.
Really can't. So one of my hopes is Lane Johnson coming back will make a big difference.
And, and frankly, Cam Jurgens and
Dickerson.
Landon Dickerson are both still playing really poorly, in my opinion.
And I don't even think Latu's blocking was that good in this game. Just wasn't Calcaterra. I think quite a few of the wraparounds or the pulls he had, he missed anyway. They did some better stuff. I like them running counter with Cameron Latu, running across the formation in motion, but they still just had so many plays where someone's not blocked. And I'm like, there's just someone free all the time. And sometimes they just don't double team. Sometimes they double team and then they don't get off. To me, the best play they run is just a really simple duo run because I think it feels like it's blocked easily. So I don't really get it. That's sort of all I can say.
Yeah, here's a good example of that. This was early, and this is on the first drive too. It's probably the best running back run they had of the first half. Getting those duo blocks on the tackles,
Massive downhills. Yep.
Just look at the space that's created. You get to the second level.
Then gets to second level. Yeah.
I mean, he is untouched 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, and that just hasn't happened much this year.
Yeah, Krabby asking for thoughts on Brett Tooth. However you pronounce his name. When he played, he was fine. I just don't think you can bench Jurgens, really. I think pass protection, Jurgens is still pretty good as well. And I think you end up maybe with more issues in terms of what's the word I'm looking for? Not when people play together well.
Chemistry.
What's the word? Yes, chemistry. I was consistency. I was begins with C. Yeah, chemistry. I really hope Landon Dickerson gets a chance to rest at the end of the year and comes back in the playoffs better because I think he's a bigger issue than Jurgens. I don't think when the Eagles drafted Cam Jurgens, they thought we're going to be an under-center offense. Yeah. And I think if the Eagles do go under-center more, there could be a realistic conversation about Jurgens' role in the team because I'm not sure that's his game. But let's worry about that another time. For me, Dickerson's the one that should excel, and he's not, which is the problem.
Yeah,
I will say when Lane comes back as well, you can do some more 6-0 line stuff. So that will be nice. Hopefully they can bin Calcaterra and just put a 6th offensive lineman on.
Yeah,
that would be
6-0 lineman under center play action.
Yeah, and they could do it when Lane's back.
And line Lane up as the guy that's eligible. Let's get Lane a touchdown.
That would be cool. But maybe you're thinking ahead. Let's run the ball well first.
Yeah.
I'm just not fully in on it. I'm not fully in yet. I need to see more. I'm not convinced it's going to get fixed. Yeah. So we'll see. I just think the blocking just looks odd. But put my optimistic hat on. You can do a lot when Lane Johnson comes back because he's Lane Johnson. So maybe that will help.
Yeah, and there can also be an element of just your mentality. I mean, mentality is a lot for offensive linemen, and they're coming off of a good game. They've got 3 straight weaker defenses. Maybe they can get the run game going, and they're just in a better headspace with that when they hit the playoffs, and that mentality can matter a lot. So
I agree.
That's kind of my hopes for the run game. And obviously,
anything else you wanted to hit on offense?
I was just saying, obviously, spam Jalen Hurts runs in the playoffs, but I'm probably laying off of that till we get there at this point.
Yeah. I think even I'm in agreement with you despite being the most run game man of all run game man from the QB. I think I might hold fire. I might hold fire for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think that's all I have on the offense. Shall we flip over to the defense, or was there anything else you wanted to mention offensively?
I am looking at my thread. I don't believe there is. So I say let's go defense.
All right. Well, let's get into the defense then. The defense has, I mean, a great performance only on the field for, I think it was 42, maybe it was 44 plays. Holds the Raiders, I believe it was below like 100 passing yards. Just phenomenal performance. Shuts out the Raiders. And again, it's the Raiders. It's a backup quarterback. But the Raiders have put up points recently, as you mentioned up top, against the Broncos and some other teams. And so another standout performance from the defense. And I do not have my clips for the defense. I was telling Jonny I don't know what happened to them. I tweeted them and they disappeared from my computer into the ether. So we'll primarily rely on your film thread, I guess, for the clips. But we can just start off a discussion. Where do you want to talk defensively first?
I mean, just how I think I put this in the Bleeding Green review this week that the Raiders obviously suck, but there was this tweet from Zach Berman where Fangio has coached the Eagles defense for 35 games, including the playoffs. In 13 of them, they've held the opponent to one or fewer touchdowns. 37%. What the good defenses do, they batter bad offenses. They absolutely wrecked them. I could start anywhere. Do you know what, actually? I almost feel like schematically there's nothing to talk about really in this game. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It was just what they do schematically. So do you want to go through it a little bit unusually? Do you want to go through it like position group by position group? And maybe just talk about some individuals? Because I don't really have any they didn't do anything to match what Kenny Pickett was doing, or they just played their defense. It was just Fangio. I think the longer we have Fangio this year, the harder it is to talk about schematic stuff because it's just the same. It's not like, wow, they ran this really funky blitz. They didn't blitz. They didn't need to. They ran the same stuff. So do you want to talk about maybe individuals? Do you want to start up front on the defensive line? Because I think Jordan Davis deserves his flowers. I really do. I've got to play 4 on my film thread if you want to just show one that I really like. I think the Eagles might need to pay him.
Yeah.
Think they might need to pay him.
Davis has been so good the last few weeks.
He's effortlessly winning like this. Like, this is just like perfect technique. Win with one arm. Second arm is kept free. This is your classic like 1 gap and a half style where he's sort of got his head to the left and he's moving to the left, but that right arm is always free. And he knows at any point he can get back to it. So I think defensive line-wise, he's just playing really well. And I thought we should talk about him a little bit because he's playing more snaps than he's ever played before. Said this on post-game. He has now overtaken the most snaps he has ever played in a single year already. And there's 3 games left. And he's looked better than he's ever had. So, yeah, conditioning might be an interesting thing to talk about how much difference it's made. But did they pay him? Did they prioritise him over Carter at this point? Over Ajomo at this point? I don't really know what he'll get on the market, but he's playing really well.
Yeah, I have no idea what the contract would look like for him on the open market because I feel like guys like that are still always going to be underpaid because they don't get sacks. I would definitely like to see the Eagles keep him, and I think the Eagles will try to keep him. I mean, they've got time with Jalen Carter, and frankly, I probably want another year to look at Jalen Carter before I try to pay him at this point. Yeah, I think he's a guy that I would want to keep because he makes a big impact on what you can do schematically. Like, you want to live in the too high world, you need a guy like Jordan Davis. And I remember talking about this at the time the Eagles drafted him. Like, he makes the math work. Like, guys like Jalen Carter, although they're never going to put up big sack numbers, although I did hope that he would develop as a pass rusher. I admit I had higher hopes for that than what turned out to be the case. But he's a game changer because you have to be able to stop the run from a light box to live in the too high world. And so you need guys that can eat up 2 gaps to do that. And that's what Jordan Davis has been good at. You would like to see more of him as a pass rusher, especially considering where the Eagles drafted him. considering what the Eagles might pay him. I don't know. Yeah, I mentioned a comment here that the contract comp for Davis is the Travis Jones extension. I loved Travis Jones in his draft too, for a lot of the same reasons. However,
I think Davis gets more. I've looked him up. Travis Jones is on 13.5 million a year.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I think
Davis
Jordan
has the
Davis,
first round pedigree that Jones didn't. Whether that
yeah,
should matter or not is a whole different thing, but it does. So, I would
Dexter
imagine
Lawrence
it's
obviously
higher
is a
than
lot
that.
better, but could he get under 20? Could he get around 20 per year? Ed
We just
Oliver's
need
on
to ask Eric.
17.
Eric apparently can tell us within like a half a
That's
million what his
actually true.
contract's going to be.
Somebody in the Discord on Patreon, just ask Eric what Jordan Davis will get, and he will tell us all. Although that's in the off season, whether he can do it now. I know they're not technically defensive line, but I guess talking about edge rushers as well, Jalen Hunt had his usual, didn't really see a great pass rush move, but got pressure all the time. I
Yeah.
think Jalen Phillips is just a really good, smart player. I don't think he's been as explosive since his first week, but I think he knows the scheme well. He had a couple of really good reps in coverage in this game as well, which I thought was nice, where you could tell he read like the fake split zone type thing with the tight end that the Eagles do. And anyone else you want to talk about defensive line wise? Two decent
Yeah,
weeks from Byron Young. Is that fair to point out?
yeah, he's been fine. Brandon Graham made a big impact in only
Yeah,
7
of course.
snaps.
In 7 sacks. Yeah, 7 snaps, sorry. 7 sacks would be really cool.
Yeah. I think we were talking about this on Discord earlier today, but I still think edge rusher is a pretty big need for the Eagles. Like, they don't have an edge rusher that can go, like, you can rely on to go get pressure. Like, Nolan Smith is really athletic and he's a good run defender and he's high effort. Jalen Hunt, same thing. Smart player, high effort, good run defender. Neither one of those guys has done much as a pass rusher. Jalen Phillips will be a free agent next year. Maybe the Eagles bring him back, but I think you can win in a world. You can be really good as a defensive line in a world where you have Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt as speedy edge guys that will contain and stop the run, and it really lets your top tier defensive tackle pass rush first. Jalen Carter hasn't been that this year, and we've seen what that did to the Eagles' pass rush. So the Eagles need the old Jalen Carter back, or they need some pass rush juice from somewhere. And I'm going to be interested to see how they approach that in the offseason. Like, Nakobe Dean presumably is going to be gone, so you can't generate pressure blitzing him. So I don't know how that works out long term. Like, Hunt and Smith are nice pieces to have, but neither of them have done a ton as a pass rusher. And I know that Nolan Smith was hurt earlier this year, and maybe he's still not 100%. Whatever. I mean, all I'm going to assume is guys are on the field, not on the injury report. We're going to call them good. I'm not sure how the Eagles will approach that this next offseason, but I do think it's something they should probably look at.
Yeah, Fangio said that Nolan Smith is not on a pitch count anymore. So, yeah, my guess is he's fine. I want to talk linebacker as well, so if we do it position by position. What was it called? Thought Nakobe Dean, when he knows what he's looking at, is like god tier.
Yeah.
I have a good clip of him, I think play 10 on my film thread. When he trusts his eyes, oh my god, is he explosive. Like, or play 9, yeah. When he trusts his eyes, is there anyone faster? The speed in which he comes downhill when he sees it. Look, when he recognizes it, he knows exactly what this is.
Yeah.
When he has to think, he's nowhere near as good. When he knows what he's looking at, he is exceptional. Like, yeah, he's very fun to watch when he does stuff like this. The burst, and he did this like 3 times in the game. Just really, really cool. And then trying to talk about Zach Bourne's interception as well.
Yeah, real quick on Nakobe Dean. Yeah, it's almost not fair to a running back that they have to block him running through the A gap, and then when you get a little designer screen pass out there, he's hitting you again. Almost feel bad for running backs against Nakobe Dean. There were still a couple reps. I thought he was a liability a bit in coverage, not where he should have been, but that's kind of what you're going to get with him. So, let's see, the Zach Bond interception.
Yeah, this is a really cool one to break down as well, isn't it? They play like Yeah, we get on a tangent about Quinion Mitchell and how important he is to his defense at the moment. But the Raiders just kept doing what I wouldn't do against the Eagles. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't go 3-by-1, because then what the Eagles do is they play 5-over-3 and Quinion 1-over-1, and you're screwed. And the Raiders kept doing it, and I was like, stop going 3-over-1. If I was playing the Eagles, I would never go 3-by-1, because going 3-by-1 is just death. Because the Eagles are going to go 5-over-3, as I mentioned. The only reason why I'd go 3-over-1 is if I wanted to get the running back on the linebacker on that opposite side. But if it's not that, I don't care. So they end up boxing these free routes, and I love watching Bourne on this play. Watch how little he looks at the receiver, and watch how his eyes are just on the QB.
Yeah.
So it's got that natural like vibe of, I know what play you're running because I understand and can feel coverage. Like, it's just a really cool play by him if you see what he does.
Yeah, so let's quickly run through. We've talked about some of these before, but there's 2 checks for quarters that are in on this play. One is their tricks, which is what they do against 3-by-1, which means the weak side safety is looking for a crosser from the other side of the field. So Reed Blankenship is keyed in on particularly the inside receiver to run any sort of a crossing route. They also have a box check on. People will call it different things, but it's designed for like bunches, which is what they started in. They kind of motion out of it, but they're still all congested. And so you basically just drop a box. You've got a low inside, low outside, high inside, high outside guy. And so it essentially becomes 5-over-3. Like Jonny mentioned, that means you've got Quinion Mitchell, one-on-one, man everywhere he goes with, I think that's Brock Bowers. You've got the same thing with Nakobe Dean and the linebacker. And they dial up something that should beat this box check here, because they're going to run a guy short to the flat, which takes your low and away guy. They're going to run a guy vertically that takes your high and away guy, and then they're essentially flooding, right? And so this guy should be open. And Zach Bond just knows. Like, if you watch him on this play, he recognizes what's coming, and you can sort of see this box forming. This outbreaking route should be open, but Zach Bond notices what's happening. Eyes are on Kenny Pickett, and he just stays with the route. Hits him right in the hands. That's a nice catch, by the way. That's not an easy catch for a linebacker to make. I'll tell you one thing. Quinion Mitchell wouldn't have made that catch. But
No.
Just a really nice play there by Zach Bond. And I mean, he's so good. And I don't feel like he hasn't gotten his flowers as much this year.
He hasn't been the last month. He hasn't.
Yeah, it's been a little rougher for him this year. And he hasn't been bad. He just hasn't made the splash plays he made last year, but still a very good linebacker. And it's just so happy he's an Eagle.
Yeah, and let's finish it up, because we said we'd do a quick one this week and then we're going longer. Secondary, I don't know what to say about Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell, except for last year's draft might have saved the defensive franchise moving forward, because it's just unbelievable. Just really quickly, Shane, look at play 1 of my film thread, because I love this. If you told an offensive coordinator, what we're going to do is we're going to run a run play, and we're going to get our 6th overall pick in the draft, one-on-one with their outside cornerback, with nobody else near, you're thinking, oh, this is a good run play. Unless you're playing the Eagles and Cooper DeJean is the corner, because who cares about your run scheme? This is like a really nice run play by the Raiders. As I said, if you had said that before the play, that's what we're going to get on this play, you'd be thinking it's a bit worrying for the Eagles. This could be a 60-yard run or whatever. If you look at, or 50 yards, wherever they are, like, there's no one else there. If he breaks DeJean's tackle, that's a really nice block. You can't block everyone. You can't block the outside corner. He's not in the run fit. They block that perfectly, and Cooper DeJean's like, nah, 2-yard gain.
Yeah.
Firstly, the speed to come downhill, speed to recognize it, bang. So good as a tackler. And Quinion's, I don't know, top 3 cornerback in the league. Him and Satan and 1 or 2 others, like, just doesn't get beat. Teams don't even throw him. Teams don't throw him anymore. They just give up. I've got one clip of him where they try and throw him, which is quite funny towards the end. Might be the very last one. This is the first time, 3rd and long, they finally go 3-by-1 again. And they're like, right, every team does this now. If you just pause it and go back like 5 seconds, this is why I'd never go 3-by-1 against the Eagles. The Eagles just literally flood the entire side of the field and just said to Quinion, you've got that side. I'm not saying the Revis Island name because that was a joke, but it is absolutely ridiculous how they're using him. Either side of the field, any receiver, doesn't matter. You go do it. And I like how he's like annoyed that he doesn't get a chance to pick it. If he gets good at the catch point, and he may never will, he'll be like all-time good.
Yeah, he wants OPI right there, and he's got a point.
Because his coverage is so good. So good. God knows how they're going to pay both of them when it comes to it, but I don't know. And I did just want to also very quickly say, Adoree Jackson played well again. 2 weeks in a row, maybe 3 weeks in a row. I think he's had his best games. I did have a play of his that I know you tweeted as well.
Yeah.
It was this one here, where look how much more aggressive he is at comeback. Do you want to talk about this one? Because I know you tweeted it as well.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, early in the year we saw, he's at the top of the screen here. We would see him play with a lot of coverage and also open his hips really early in these routes. And you do that because you don't trust your speed. You don't want to get beat deep, but it makes it so easy for receivers to push you, and then you open your hips, and then they break a route off, either a curl route, a comeback route, a dig route, whatever. You can't react to it. And if you just watch him here, like, watch how close he allows this receiver to get while he's still backpedaling. He never flips his hips, and so he's just right there to break that up. And I mean, it's 3rd and 8, and so, you know, there's a bit of that. Like, your pass rush has been winning. Pass rush and coverage go hand in hand, but it's 3rd and 8. You know they're probably going to break around the sticks. That's in your head, but I just thought this was a really good rep. He's playing a lot more confidently now, and you can see he doesn't really have help if that ball goes deep necessarily. So I thought that was a really good play by Adoree Jackson, who has played quite well over the last several weeks of the season.
And then let's just end up by saying, does Marcus Epps keep his starting position? If Makuba comes back in the playoffs, if Epps has a good last couple of weeks, is it impossible?
It's not impossible, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
He's been fine. He's been fine. I think Makuba had been fine. If Makuba was still busting coverages with the frequency he was early in the year, I think Epps would keep the job. But I think they're probably pretty similar in the impact they're making now, so you probably go with your 2nd-round draft pick.
Yep. Yep. I don't think it's impossible. That's what I'll say. Yeah. I think that's it.
I got two more clips I want to show quickly that I pulled off of my Twitter.
Go for it.
This one, just, again, talking about pass rush and coverage and how important they are working together here. Cooper DeJean, this is an incredible route by Tyler Lockett. By the way, you get Cooper DeJean running across the formation. Now he's switching on to a different receiver. He's trying to put on the brakes and get upfield, and it's just such a good route that gets him turned around. So look how open Tyler Lockett is. That's an easy throw. And it just doesn't matter, because if you watch the defensive line now, knowing what's going on, sometimes you're going to get got. And Moro Ojimo just blows this play up. And so, you know, we talk about how that pass rush and that coverage goes together. Sometimes you need your pass rush to get a quicker win, to cover up for a mistake you made so the quarterback doesn't see it. And sometimes, as a pass rusher, you need extra time to get home because your first two moves didn't work and the defense gives it. And so at its best, your pass rush and your coverage are working together. And I think they were in this game. The other one I wanted to show, this is back on linebackers, but just, again, some improvement here. Watch how quickly Jahad Campbell triggers downhill on this run. Yeah, he played a bit, didn't he, towards the end? Yeah. Yeah, he played a little bit, but watch how quickly he comes downhill here. And, I mean, he doesn't make the play, but just seeing him trigger downhill there is really nice. It's also a good job of pursuing from the backside by Moro Ojimo. So those were just a couple random clips that I wanted to show as I scrolled through my Twitter timeline that I kind of forgot about.
The ones that weren't deleted or vanished forever.
Well, yeah. I tweeted them. I just am usually pulling them up from my computer where I've got them like tagged with like a 2-word thing of what they are. And that's what's gone. I don't know what happened to them, but I remembered the Jahad Campbell clip and I wanted to go pull it from Twitter. So,
Right. I think that's me out, Shane. Any final thoughts? But I think, we've covered that in too much depth because I think we did more prep than the Raiders and Pete Carroll have done in the past month, to be honest with you.
That's very possible. So, nope, I think that's going to about do it for me. I don't really have much else to say other than I think, you should expect the Eagles to kind of get their swagger back over the next couple of weeks. I mean, maybe they don't beat the Bills, but defensively, I think you should see a good game against the Commanders. You should see them tested against the Bills. That's probably the only game that's testing on either side of the ball because the Commanders just aren't very good. The Bills don't have a good run defense, so maybe you can get some things going offensively. And obviously, getting Lane Johnson back is going to be a big deal. So we'll continue breaking down the film every week to give you guys a look at the process because the results might be a little skewed by quality of opponents. But it'll be interesting to see what they build off of and what was kind of a one-off because the Eagles have been a bit of a one-off team offensively this year. The RPO game, the under center game, the jumbo personnel game. We'll see if this was just the under center play action game or if they continue to build that out.
Yep, I agree. And except for that, plug the Patreon as always. There'll be another preview show. We've got some fun stuff, hopefully, if we get some time for the playoffs to look at. Hopefully we get some good matchups. So yeah, shout out Krabby in the comments as always. Until next week, I guess.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here. If you guys want some more content, come check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Eagles Film Room. I have a past game review. Jonny was giving me a hard time because I put Tanner McKee clips in there, but I was like, listen, Jalen Hurts only threw 15 passes. I can't be shortchanging my Patreon. So I think I literally put every pass attempt from the game in the past game review this week because they didn't throw a ton and the film was short. But go check that out. Jonny will have his preview up. Eric just posted a Marcus Epps player spotlight, so I have to go watch that. And I haven't seen it yet. Maybe that would change my answer about him keeping the starting job. But you can come check that out. Grab a free 1-week trial of any membership tier. Hang out with us in the Discord. All of that fun stuff. It helps support us in the show, and we really appreciate it. Otherwise, thank you guys for joining, and we will catch you next time for another episode that we probably need to talk about off air when we're going to record it because next Wednesday is Christmas Eve, but we'll get there. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Birds.